Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Vixen Voice. Super excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about how to own your worth. Super important topic. It is pillar number 3 in the Vixen foundational format. This is the program most of our clients go through to get our foundations in place so then we can scale our business, go for our goals, live our most joyful life, etc. So super excited to dive into this topic today because when I talk money with most women, they shy away. It's just the truth, right? And I've talked to other coaches and they have the same experience as well. For some reason, we women tend to have this fixed mindset that money is bad, or if we make more money, we have to sacrifice time with our family or other things we love. And one thing I'm super passionate about is helping women leverage their time to make more money and still get to do all of the things they love. I mean, think about it. If you could make your ideal income, have abundance for your family, and still get to do all the things you want to do and that you feel are important for you to do, how great would that life be, right? In fact, I want you to imagine for a second, if you hit your ideal income goal, what does that mean you get to do? So let's take a moment and just kind of, I like to ask you to breathe, be present, focus. Obviously, if you're driving, you can't close your eyes with me. But if you're doing anything else, I know you're probably multitasking as you're listening to this. So just kind of close your eyes for a moment and take some deep breaths and really start to feel yourself get into your body. Pay attention. Is anything tense? Is anything tight? Does something hurt? And I just want you to imagine breathing energy, like good energy into that area, helping it relax. And really just being present so your body can tell you how you're feeling. And now, while I have you here with your eyes closed, relaxed, imagine for a moment that you are making your ideal income. I want you to just think and envision 3 things you could do with that money for yourself, for your family, to give back to humanity, whatever is important to you. What are 3 things that you want to do that earning that income would allow you to do? And this exercise is going to give purpose to money for us. It's that simple. Money isn't bad, it's not evil, it's not good, it's just a flow of energy, right? So it's how you direct that energy. Think of electricity. Electricity can light a city, or in the form of a lightning bolt, it can burn things down. So think of money the same way. In your hands, are you going to use it for good? Or are you going to use it for not so good? You are in full control. So imagine this money flowing into you and you have 1 to 3 good things, good uses for that money. And just envision that and see how your body feels. See what emotions come up. Get in touch with yourself. I don't know about you, but I already feel much better. It's the afternoon as I'm recording this, and I tend to wane about this time, and I feel nice and relaxed. So that's a quick little energy hack for you as well. As I said, today we're going to talk about owning your worth. And, this pillar has many steps to it. If you go through one-to-one coaching with me or the Vixen Mastermind or small group coaching. So it's pretty awesome. You're getting complimentary coaching here today, which is one of the 2 purposes of the Vixen Voice, to help more women increase their abundance, their joy, their peace, and their love in their lives. So today we're going to be focused on abundance, but with that comes the other 3 things, right? And so, owning your worth in our program has multiple steps. Today, together, I'm going to guide you through step number one. And step number one is raising your money mindset. So, we really want to see if you have some fixed beliefs about money, if you have some maybe icky feelings inside you about money, and try to push past that. So that's step number one, which then allows you to increase your income. And we'll talk about how that happens, which then allows you to own your worth. When we combine feeling better with money and making more money, you start feeling better about yourself, owning your worth, which honestly is a very deeply spiritual concept to know that you are worthy and deserving. So we're going to start with the practical part, actually raising your money mindset. I'll talk to you about some practical outcomes that happen for me and my clients as we go through this. But understand the end goal of this is much deeper. It's about living a deeper, more fulfilled life. Some of you listening think we have one trip around this earth. Some of you listening think we've been here many times. It doesn't matter. I think we all agree that we want to get the most out of this trip, right? We want to reach our highest value, our highest purpose, and helping you own your worth will help get you there. So today, let's talk about raising your money mindset. The first time I did this exercise with a group was at the very first retreat of the Vixen Mastermind. And of the women in the room, after we did this exercise, and I think I think two of them gasped out loud when we got to the second step of this exercise, so we won't get there today. And half of the room went back and raised their prices that they were charging immediately. I think some of them got on the computer and did it while we were there on break, right? So it just became clear to them that they were not valuing their time correctly. And in fact, it led to one of them going back to a client and increasing prices that she had already quoted the client and explaining why, and successfully getting paid the higher amount, okay? So this is pretty powerful stuff. I personally went through a version of this exercise. I've kind of made it my own and added some points when I was going through a coaching certification class, and it was part of our training. And I will share with you that I've always felt I had like no limits on income. Like I don't really see a cap. And I always believed that I had a very abundant mentality, right? Well, when I did this exercise, I broke down crying. In fact, I'm getting emotional thinking about it now because it helped me to see that my money mindset had been lowered. And it had been lowered by external factors. It had been lowered by a partnership I had that they had a very scarcity mentality, and I had been operating within those bounds, and it had energetically, emotionally, and spiritually affected me. I wasn't operating at my true level of natural abundance, right? And I also realized that I had allowed a relationship I was in to affect it. Now, this is not my partner's fault, right? He's just more frugal than I was. But because as a woman, by the way, this is a superpower, but we have to make sure it's not our kryptonite. As women, we tend to be more adaptable. Have you noticed that? We tend to mirror our partners more. We tend to adapt, and we're not doing it to be manipulative. It's just how we're built. That's how we operate, right? And so you want to be aware of this. And so I had started adapting my partner's mentality to a certain degree. You know, this was a past relationship I'd been in, and it had lowered my money mindset. Now, he didn't want my money mindset lowered. It wasn't anything he did. It was that I adapted in a way that was not beneficial to me. So other ways we adapt in, it's beautiful. We give people space. We give love to people. There are some ways we adapt that actually hurt us. So we have to start to learn that difference. But again, we could do a whole nother episode on that. So I literally burst out crying, number one, realizing that I had allowed this energy to come in and lower my money mindset. And that day I vowed it would not happen again. I would stay true to my natural state of abundance and what I felt comfortable on this earth doing. So the opposite is true. Don't let someone raise your money mindset to a level that doesn't feel right to you. You want to make sure that you're operating within integrity, right? One of my close friends runs an amazing business, but for her, she just wants to make enough money to spend good quality time with their family and go on an easy vacation one time a year, right? It's not worth it to her. She doesn't care to make more money. It's not important to her. Again, I'm going to run her through the money mindset so she can see that she can do all that stuff and earn. But my point is, we all have different levels of integrity that feel good to us for money. I do believe that God wants us to be abundant and limitless. And if you call God the universe or the higher power or whatever, no big deal. I call this being God. And I do think we're meant to have unlimited abundance. So I would love it as we dive in today. We're going to raise your money mindset, but pay attention to your integrity. You're going to have a limit, and it might be a limit for now. It might be a limit forever, right? Hopefully it's just for now. You go to the next level, and the next time you go to the next level, and you go to the next level. But really, raising your money mindset gives you the freedom to charge what you're worth, to own your worth and not feel guilty about it. And it will lead to you making more money that you can do good with in the world. So that's the purpose of our time today. And like I said, I will share stories of how my clients put this to use and different things they've done. I already shared my story of how raising my money mindset affected me. Oh, I didn't tell you the second practical part. So emotionally and energetically, I understood this and vowed I wouldn't let it happen again, that I had to protect myself from that. And there are ways to do that. I do spiritual and energetic coaching as well, so we can talk about that if you're interested. But the second thing was when I raised my money mindset, I raised my goals for what I wanted my company to look like. And I realized that I needed to find a group that had that level mindset to surround myself with. So I went out and found a new mastermind to join. Yes, I lead a mastermind. I love the mastermind that I lead. I would love if you came and joined us. But I personally am in 3 other masterminds because I am in a high growth phase right now. I don't have children. And so, I have the time and energy to put into that. I hope for all of you listening, you can find at least one group to join. If you want to talk about the Vixen Mastermind, I'd love to chat with you. But find one group to join that matches your money mindset so that you can feel comfortable and blossom and grow within that group. So today we're going to dig in. I am going to pull up my notes because I like to keep myself on track so that you always get value from what we're talking about. So some of you listening own your business, and some of you maybe aren't there yet. You're thinking about owning your business. You have a side hustle. You still have a full-time job, and others of you have no intention to own a business. So we're going to talk in 2 terms today, right? We're going to talk about revenue, which is the money that your company owns if you have one. And we're going to talk about income, which when I say income, think about your personal income. And by the way, as a business owner, if you do not have a goal for revenue and personal income, you're missing the boat. A lot of people like to talk about revenue, that top line number, right? But what does that mean for you? How much money do you get to take home, and how much money do you get to enjoy as the business owner? I think it's really important that you know these answers and that you have goals for both these answers. So again, if you work for someone else, you might be saying, hey, April, I have a set salary. I don't have control over this. Yes, you do. You can always negotiate for yourself. My co-facilitator of the Vixen Mastermind just shared a huge win she had with me. Her nephew was making $85,000 a year and He does not have a college degree, so he thought he was capped. He thought he was blessed and lucky to be making that much money. She coached him through negotiating and looking for better pay, and he got bumped up to a $125,000 salary. So, what her nephew had was a fixed mindset. He thought he had this certain cap of income because he did not go to college. So first of all, I'm going to share with you now, most of the wealthiest people I know did not attend college, right? So that mindset is absolutely not true. So we're going to talk about fixed mindsets like that today. And as we go through, think about what fixed mindsets you might have. I had one growing up. My mom always told me, you have to pay your dues, right? You can't be successful until you pay your dues. I understand what my mom was saying, but I heard it as, gosh, I got to work hard, hustle, and be miserable before I get to have a good life. That's how, my 12-year-old brain heard this. And so that was a fixed mindset. So when I went to work at my first law firm, and yes, they paid me a lot of money, but yes, I worked 80 hours a week. I just thought that was normal until I started looking around and realizing not everyone did that, right? That was a fixed mindset that I had. So let's start. By the way, if you're listening on the run, you're driving, you're running, you're hiking, you're washing dishes, whatever, no big deal. Just listen along. You can always replay this episode when you can sit down and take notes, or you could grab your phone, the little notes section in there. If you're at home and listening, grab a sheet of paper, take some notes, because you can really take away some great things from this. And by the way, in the show notes, I have a worksheet that accompanies this the step that we're working on today. So you can click on that link, go to our website, and download. If you have subscribed to get our episodes, you automatically get sent all the worksheets we talk about, right? So great reason to go to our website, subscribe, so that you don't miss out on any websites, you don't miss out on any episodes. Anyway, what I'd love to do is let's get refocused on your money mindset. So here's my first questions for you. These are very practical, and then we're going to get into feelings and thoughts. What was your revenue and income, or income if you work in a salaried position or for someone else? So what was your revenue or income for 2022 or last year? I'm recording this in 23. I forgot. It might be around in 24, 25, 26 you're listening. So just think about last year. What was your total income or revenue? And then think about this year. So write that down. Really important that you write this down if you can, or take a note on your computer, on your phone. Write that number down or type it. If not, just keep it in your mind if you're driving or doing something else. Next question is, what is your revenue or income goal for this year, right? So what is that revenue or income goal again? If you don't have one, write whatever number comes to mind. Just go with it. Don't think about it too much, okay? And then, I want you to sit there and say, okay, I have this goal for this year. What % of the way am I toward it? Right? Are you on track? Are you off track? Are you ahead of track? You really want to have a feeling for this. If you're behind track, no big deal. You can catch up. You just need to know. You have to be honest about it. And then my last question is, what would you like your revenue or income to be in 3 years? So again, I want to think last year, what was your total revenue or income? Write that number down. What is your revenue or income goal for this year? Write that number down. And then maybe rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how on track you are. Sometimes I think that's easier than percentages, however your brain works. And then what would you like your revenue or income to be in 3 years? So let's write that number down as well. Now, what I want to do is examine your fixed mindset about money. I already shared a fixed mindset I had. I shared the fixed mindset that my friend's nephew had. Maybe you just tell yourself, it's always going to be like this. This is how it's going to be. No one in my family earns a lot of money. everyone I know who makes a lot of money works too much. Like, really think for a second. Do you have these thoughts about money that are fixed? And here's what happens to us. If you're listening, most of our audience is 35 to 65 years old. If you're younger, congratulations, you're ahead of the game if you're already doing these steps and taking these actions, right? So by this point in our life, most of us have been doing some things for a very long time. Would you agree that we get set in our ways, right? You can think about actions you do, your routine. We become very set in our ways. And when we do that, we always default to the autopilot. So think about this. Your mind does the same thing. When you've been thinking certain thoughts for this long, actually brain science kind of says your personality is baked and done by the time you're 35 years old, right? Everything leading up to that kind of creates who you are at age 35. Science also introduces neuroplasticity, which means we actually can change our brains. That old way of thinking that, hey, brain cells die and they don't regenerate is not true. We are regenerating our brain all the time, every time we learn something new or think something new. So, yes, you're baked and done by age 35, but you can change that if you take steps, right? But if you don't take steps, what happens is you default to your experience to define your next steps, right? So you're basically living in the past, which is defining your future. So this becomes a fixed mindset. If you think about it, your experience becomes your cage. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in any cage. Let's rattle that cage and break out, right? And so that's why we want to acknowledge where we have these fixed mindsets, because they are our cages. And if we're not aware of them, it's like an invisible cage that we're stuck in. So I want you to just take a second, again, if you can, write down maybe some thoughts that came up. As we do this exercise, the thoughts are going to come up and we're going to ask you to write them down. So just jot down anything that kind of comes up. Don't give it a ton of thought, just jot it down. So what I want to ask you is, again, you probably have a fixed mindset on this. I want you to write down this number, super important. What is the most amount of money you think you can make in a year? So we talked about what you made last year. We talked about what you're making this year. We talked about what you would like to make in 3 years. Now, this was just to warm you up. I want you to think in any given year, it could be this year, 5 years from now, 10 years, 20 years. What is the most amount of money you think you can make in a year? What is that ideal income for you? So last time, what is the most amount of money that you think you can make in a year? So that number, take a look at it. That's what we call your financial glass ceiling. Or, as I said, it could be your invisible cage, right? Unconsciously, this is the number that is preset in your mind as the most money you will make. So this is really important. I want you to look at that number, and then I want you to multiply it by 10. So if you can still do math on paper, times 10. If not, grab your handy dandy calculator here on your computer. Take that number and multiply it by 10. So easy math, if you wrote down $100,000, that number becomes $1 million, right? Times 10. If you wrote down $1 million, that number becomes 10. If you wrote down at $250,000, that number becomes $2.5 million. And here's a trick. When it comes to money mindset, remember, I was a money coach for 15 years. I helped people retire, right? That was my job. So I have a very deep respect for money, and I always taught my clients to have a deep respect for money and the good it could do in their lives, because there's a lot of scarcity around retirement, right? I won't have income anymore. Do I have enough money? Will I get to do what I want? So we want to be respectful and honor our money so that it gives us the things we want. So for example, if you said 250 was your limit, 250,000, you should write it out. Do not write 250K. $250, comma, 000. So if that was your limit and you've multiplied it by 10, don't write 2.5 M or 2.5 million. Again, write the full number out. $2 comma 500 comma 000. All right. So when you're setting income goals and when you're dreaming and projecting, I want you to practice writing that full number out. Visualize it fully. So we had that limit. We've now multiplied it by 10. So what's your number, right? And remember, this is your financial glass ceiling or that invisible cage holding you. So I want you to focus on the 10x number, okay? Whatever it is, I don't care. I want you to now give yourself freedom to imagine making this money. Close your eyes, breathe, whatever you want to do. I want you to imagine making that 10x number in 1 calendar year. How does it feel? Now, again, if you're writing or taking notes, I want you to write down what are the good feelings you're having and what are the bad feelings you're having. So the good feelings are going to be your motivators. The bad feelings are the fixed mindset and the negative connotations you have about money that you have to work on, right? So let's write down the good feelings so they can motivate you to reach that goal, to have those feelings. And let's write down the bad feelings because that's your to-do list. That's what we have to work on, get rid of, or work around, right? And then the next question is, when you think about this 10x number, what are you thinking? What are some of the thoughts that come to mind as you experience making this amount of money in 1 year? So again, write down the good thoughts and the uncomfortable thoughts. And I'd really encourage you to feel your body. When you think about that amount of money, do your shoulders go up? Probably means you're not comfortable with it, right? Does your stomach hurt? Does your head hurt? Is anything bad going on? That tells you where your current money mindset is. And you can work over time to raise that. You want to go back and honor where you are, right? And then we can raise it over time. So the uncomfortable feelings, the uncomfortable thoughts is where your growth awaits. Okay, so again, use the good thoughts as your motivators. Wow, this would be awesome if this happened. Use the uncomfortable thoughts as your guideline for where you need to grow. Okay? And my next question, and you can just visualize this, you can jot it down, whatever you want, but if you made that amount of money, how would you live differently? Remember at the beginning, I asked if you made your ideal income, what's 1 to 3 things you would do, positive things? So I want you to think daily, how would your life be different? Would you hire someone to clean the house so you didn't have to spend Saturday morning doing that and you got to go to your kid's soccer game? You know, good friend of mine and a member of our mastermind took her entire family, including the 2 grandmothers, on an Alaskan cruise this summer. How cool is that? I didn't get to have those experiences as a kid, right? They are living their best life. Would you be able to take off 2 weeks in December so you could fully be present for the holidays with your family? That's what another one of our mastermind members did. Pretty cool life, right? Would you donate more to charity? Would you start a foundation? Would you get a house that was more comfortable for your family? Would you get a vacation home so you had somewhere to escape and really disconnect? This is your permission to dream. How would you live differently? Would it allow you the time and energy to take care of yourself better, to rest more? What would be different? And then my next question is, how many of you are having a hard time imagining this? How many of you are fighting it, having really bad feelings? And what you really have to ask yourself is why? Why can't I imagine this for myself? Why can't I imagine this for my family? And I think you have to go back to linking a higher purpose to making that amount of money. And by the way, I've shared this before, but if this is your first time joining us, all of the solo episodes where I'm coaching or talking to clients and people I know living these pillars are available in their full form on YouTube. Usually we just have a short form on YouTube, and then we have the full podcast available to listen on your favorite podcasting app. But these episodes are fully present on YouTube. So do me a favor. As you're going through this, if you have a difficult moment, if you have an aha, go there and share it. Do you know that when you share your story, it helps other women? You become an inspiration to others. I call it the ripple effect. That's why I always love to share my client stories. I love to share my stories because I hope you can envision yourself or reflect on something in your life that you want to work on or that you're grateful for. You can also, this is a great time to celebrate your win, right? So if you have an aha or a difficult moment, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn and share it. Share that information with us so we can share it with our community. Or you can always go to YouTube and under the episode, you can comment, right? So it would be amazing if you shared there. And again, friendly reminder, the show notes anywhere that you're listening to this or viewing it, you'll have a link to go to our website and download our Raise Your Money Mindset worksheet. So this worksheet is going to walk you through this exercise we're doing together. All right. So go there. Feel free to share that link with anyone you care about who you think needs to raise their money mindset. Oh, and if you subscribe, you get all the worksheets automatically to your inbox. So one next question I'd like to ask is, if we started small, if we just started small today, maybe you can't envision the 10x number, maybe you can't even envision the first number, that's okay, right? But today, what's one positive belief that you could adopt about money, right? Maybe it's, money's not bad. I can do good with money. I would love to do X with money. Money helps lots of people do good things. What is a positive belief that you could adopt about money? I deserve to make more money. Everyone deserves to make more money. So write down at least one positive belief, and then I want you to put this somewhere that you're going to see it every day. Every day, see it, read it out loud, repeat it until you adopt it and it starts becoming part of who you are. And then what I'd also like to do is invite you to think about a time that money just flowed to you. Maybe you did something, or maybe you were gifted. It doesn't matter how it came to you. Just think about a time that, money came easily. It could be, one time I remember in college, I reached into my fleece and I discovered a $100 bill because my grandparents would always give me a $100 bill when I was driving back to college. And I didn't have a lot of money in college. So $100 was a big deal to me. I forgot it was in my pocket and I was so excited, right? And I remember thinking, ooh, what can I do with this $100? So think about a time that money just showed up, or that you took a risk and it paid off and you made a lot of money, or that you created something new that brought a flow of abundance to you. So really, think about a time that money flowed to you, a time when you felt abundant, and how did that feel? I guarantee it didn't feel bad. You probably had some excitement, some wonder, what can I do with this? So how did that feel? And let's invite that feeling to come back to us. Awesome. I think that's a nice high note to end on. So I kind of want to wrap up a little bit. What did you love about our session today? Did you have an aha moment? Did you have a positive memory that felt good? Did you like just taking this time to spend thinking about yourself and your abundance? My next question is, what insight did you grab onto? Is there something you can implement now into your life? Maybe it's that single positive belief, right? Maybe it's posting that 10x number somewhere you can see it. Maybe it's starting to pay attention to your feelings and your thoughts around money. And this positive insight, do you feel that if you were more consistent in applying that insight to your life, that your life would improve, right? Would your life simply get better? And finally, as I always do, I'd like to challenge you. I'd like to challenge you to make a 24-hour plan. Here's what I'm doing immediately, which might be to write that simple belief and stick it on your mirror or desk. Or it might be, hey, I'm going to put together a plan to make more money. And what is your 90-day plan, right? So what's one small thing you can do in the next 24 hours? And what can you do over the next 90 days to raise your money mindset? So as I shared, this is just the first step in owning your worth, which is our pillar number 3. The next step is to determine your hourly rate. And boy, was that mind-blowing for every client I've had that goes through that. It gives you permission to say yes or no to things. As I shared with you, most of my clients raised their prices. They did not lose clients, and they're on track to make more revenue. And guess what? It helps some of them leverage their time better, so they actually worked less to make more money. If you're listening, I just want you to know this is powerful stuff. You deserve to make as much money as possible. You deserve to have an abundant life that brings you joy so that you can show up in love and doing good things for yourself, your family, and others. So I'm just going to part with that. I'd love for you to think about, if I had money flowing to me, how could I show up more loving? How could I show up and make a difference in the world? And again, I'd love to hear any of your ahas. Go to YouTube, share it with us, DM us on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or go subscribe to our subscribe to our podcast. You can subscribe to our newsletter as well. But if you subscribe to our podcast, it's a special list where you get all worksheets we talk about sent to you. And we'll have special events for those of you on that podcast list where you can go live with me, share your experiences, and ask questions. So have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening. And really focus on what can you take away from today, even if it's one thing, to make your life better and those you love. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.